So we've answered a lot of questions in the past about extinction and aberration with these videos and the help from you guys as well. However, we haven't answered one question that's obviously a very big one. What happened to aberration? Why is this ARK so weird? Why is everything so just mutated and horrible? And I know the common sense answer is, you see that giant thingy right there? Well, something hit that and destroyed it. That's basically the super TLDR, you don't care about anything else answer. It's most likely because of that thing right there. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of other things that go with that. For instance, this obelisk that's tipped over. Now, I don't know what one it is, but one of them were hacked, and that's what saved this ARK from what I've gathered. Now, the easy observation right off the bat is a meteor of some sort hit this tower right here. There's 3 of these towers sticking out like prongs on each side of the arcs. They're what create the, I guess, shielding around it along with the power of the obelisks. They're kind of like nodes, I guess, if that makes sense. Now, unfortunately, this one was destroyed by a meteor, which I think we can confirm a meteor because we can see all the space rock out there floating around. Something pretty big hit this, unfortunately. And with that, it basically destroyed everything on the surface of this ARK. Now, I know what you're saying, but wait, hang on a second, because if you look over to the planet Earth, which is just down right there, actually, which is under the map, we shouldn't be around anywhere far enough to a planet like the sun to cause the whole thing to become molten fire and horrible sadness, right? We shouldn't have that. Well, actually, there's a chance it's possible. I don't know if this even fits in, but like, this is my justification. This is how I justify it. So my idea is that these force fields that are created by the giant towers are actually creating an ozone layer and a protective layer too from the horrible badness that is out in outer space. But without that, well, I guess this planet is more susceptible, or at least this ARK is more susceptible to heat and radiation. And I assume that's a very pliable theory. But like at the same time, this is a different universe too, and we don't know exactly how strong the ozone is in Earth compared to this ARK, and you know how close we are to a major planet. I want to make note of these obelisks real quick. In each ARK, from what I gather, they are all different colors, and because of that, they seem to represent some kind of element, be it water, grass, earth, fire. They usually represent a different element. At least that's what I've seen on the normal ARK. These ones are all the same colors, or close to the same color. This one is basically like a pinkish purple, and then you move over to this one, which you're about to find all the locations of the land obelisks up on Aberration's surface, which is good. But you can see this one right here is also a pinkish purple, and it looks like it's been damaged heavily, which again, I will go into in just a moment and explain some things to you about that. This one's the same color, and then you move over to this one over here, and you can see it's the same color, basically, except this one is held up by some stuff. And I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with this. This looks like it's actually been repaired, which is kind of interesting to me. Clearly looks like some kind of repairs happened to this, or maybe this one had something else on it. Now, the theory, there's a theory that I had seen too. There's a theory that each ARK has an overseer tower. Now, the idea is that the overseer tower was in that giant pillar that was basically destroyed in the distance, and with that it was evacuated, and this ARK was basically abandoned because of the meteor. I mean, they can't really fix that kind of catastrophic damage overnight. At least I would assume they can't. They're not the world's greatest mechanic, the galaxy's greatest mechanics actually, but you get what I mean. They wouldn't be able to do anything with that. Now, the idea is that one, the overseer abandoned this place, so it was at one point normal. There was nothing wrong with this place. Everything was great, you know, flowers and everything. You could live on this surface. Someone had a thatch hut. And then one day the meteor hits, and it ruins it. Now, on top of that, this obelisk is at some point seriously damaged. and it plummets into the ground, and well, now it's leaning on this Craigfield looking like place with these rocks and stuff, and it's embedded into the ground. Well, you see, these things probably take a lot of power, be it the thing out there that we can't see anymore because it's so bright, or the obelisk takes a lot of power. So what happens if, for instance, this obelisk plummets into the ground and is damaged so heavily that its power source is leaked? Well, what would power these things? The only thing I can think of is molten element, kind of like a giant battery. So more or less, I would say Aberration has been destroyed and mutated by a very leaky ancient alien battery. Yeah, that's kind of freaky, isn't it? Battery acid's bad. Don't do anything with that stuff. Now, as far as the entrances go, we have 3 of them that lead to the surface. One will lead to the fallen obelisk over here, which is leaning down on its side, and, well, bad things are going on with it. Or you can find your way going through this zone right here, which you scale a cliff, and then you get to the second repaired obelisk. At least I feel like this is repaired, and I feel like this is the one that ties into Helena and some other people saving the planet, because I'm pretty sure this ARK was going to be destroyed. There's some explorer notes about it. I'm going to go to that, go into that in a second, but you go into the second one right here, which is basically, there's not much, it's nothing too fancy to look at, guys. It's really not, so you don't have to worry about coming out here. But the third one is probably the only functioning obelisk on the ARK, or at least normally functioning obelisk on the ARK, is over here, and it's probably the only normal functioning obelisk on the ARK, unfortunately. Now, to get to this one, you have to go the way that I've shown you in numerous videos. This is the only one I've actually managed to get to, because this is the only one I know the path to get to. At least the general zone. I've never made it out this far to see what the deal is with it, because every time I come out here, I die, and I've lost some really high-level tames out here. So this is not a place you want to mess with. This place is going to destroy you if you go out here too far, and you don't want to mess with it at all. It's super easy to get out here, but once you do, it's super hard to survive. So you're going to come out here, do it at night, and do it with your strongest tames so you actually have a chance to survive. But just be super cautious, because I don't know if you can build back up onto these ledges that you have to go down. And if you come out here with your strongest tames, you will probably lose them. You are guaranteed to lose them in day. Once the fire starts, it does a lot of damage. So just for reference real quick, I want to make sure you guys know that there was an obelisk that had malfunctioned, and it was hacked into by the previous survivors on Aberration. I do not know if it was this one that malfunctioned, which seems to be repaired and held up by all of this scrap metal that's laying around. I mean, to me, this does not look like it was naturally with the obelisk, so it doesn't really make sense since they can kind of float on their own. Or if it was this obelisk right here that is on its side currently, kind of just chilling out and stuff. The problem with it is that they go to a control room. I have no idea where that control room is, and I can only assume there was an overseer inside that control room that was overlooking the ARK. Unfortunately, well, it was destroyed. The control room possibly could have been inside that tower right there that was destroyed, but there is no guarantee. This is where it gets a little bit weird, so I apologize. I just don't know what obelisk it was they hacked. For the sake of what I've seen, I'm going to assume the one over there that's held up, seems to be repaired, is the one that they repaired and hacked into. So as you guys know, when Rockwell and Helena ascended to Aberration, they only had a couple of rifles and some very limited supplies. They didn't really have much to start off with at all, unfortunately. They started their adventure, and they didn't really know where they were. They didn't know what to call the planet, and it was when Rockwell had finally coined the term for element, which you guys all know is that super messed up word. They eventually found May, who had actually skipped Scorched Earth after a brutal battle. And eventually they have a big discussion about the history of the destruction and what had happened while they were in Aberration. At least not what destroyed the planet, but what was happening to the people that were living there, which you have to remember, these people are incredibly advanced. They all have tech armor. They all have some crazy stuff going on with technology, and they are just full of technology and becoming incredibly powerful. Now, It came down to Rockwell, as a lot of you think he was the one that destroyed the majority of the planet. But it was already like that. Unfortunately, something did malfunction on the planet, and that is confirmed through numerous notes online that you can find actually through dossiers and stuff. Now, the malfunction was in an obelisk, which you already know. There's 2 obelisks that I suspect malfunctioned. I'm going with this one because it looks like it was repaired, because if it was not, well, then the entire Ark was at risk of being destroyed. So in Helena's part, she was talking with some other people, and they got a group to go to the obelisk that was malfunctioning, and they tried to hack into it because of that. Now, I'm not sure how that plays into it having a weakened defense or anything like that, but I'm assuming it plays a part in ARK, at least. So they go ahead, they hack into it, and then they go to a control room. Now, from what I understand, the person that hacked into the obelisk is a technician by the name of Santiago. So they are the one that hacked into the terminal and, I guess, decided, hey, we're going to make a portal back to Earth or whatever. So they basically did that. Now, on the way back from hacking it, which this took a long time to do, they were here for a while. And I don't know if that means they repaired the obelisk too, but on the way back, they radio in and they're just like, hey, so we saved the Ark, it won't explode, we fixed the obelisk, everything's okay, we're perfectly fine to live here for another 1,000,000 years if we really want to. We'll just let avatars die a couple times of old age. They didn't actually say that, but I'm just throwing that. That's what I'd say, okay? That's what I'd say. But unfortunately, they got a call back, and there was a ton of screaming, and they heard Edmund Rockwell, and then they lost signal. So they decide to run back, as you naturally would. Instead of walking back and being super careful, they decide they were gonna all-out sprint there. So, while they're running back, in the distance, they see a giant creature. Now, I just want to make a note real quick that Rockwell is gigantic on the Aberration map. The zone we're in kind of makes him look like he's not that big, scary, or strong or anything, but unfortunately, well, this guy is next level beast mode humongous. A really bad time if you want to try and fight this guy. A measure of scale right here shows just how big Rockwell is. So they ran back because they heard this guy screaming. Now, he wasn't exactly this big, unfortunately, when they got here, but he was pretty well near the size of this. Also, little hint, he doesn't have legs. Look at that. He's just tentacles, powered by element. So he does change a little bit when he falls down into the pit that he created, actually. After a long battle, they fight him, and they basically make him go down into a pit that he had created himself with immense power. And he's trapped down there. They think he died, at least they assume he died, but, well, no, he did not die. And you can see he is injured to an extent, and I'm assuming some of those injuries came from the survivors. I'm thinking this guy was fairly normal looking, with no exposed ribs, no exposed anything. His chest wasn't bust open, his eye wasn't missing, his jaw wasn't slashed open. I'm thinking they did that to him. That's the damage they inflicted. I feel like that's what they actually did. I don't see any reason why his chest would be ripped open like that. To me, there is no applicable, no, he must have survived those wounds, and the element just made him strong enough to survive with that. Whether or not he's in constant pain, I don't know. Maybe he might be in constant pain and want to die. I mean, if I had my chest split open like that down to my crotch, I'd probably want to die too, to be honest with you. So the incredible thing about it is that Rockwell was able to destroy the entire village. Now, you got to remember, that village was advanced as hell. They're more advanced than most alpha tribes with tech. So the entire village was destroyed by Rockwell, and unfortunately, Diana died in May's arms. May is the Beast Queen, I think it's called, and I made a video on her a while ago as to why she's probably going to be the final boss of Extinction. Because, well, a master of taming and stuff. Lots of more stuff that I'm not going to go into right now. But anyways, a few days pass by, and May is still mad about the whole Rockwell-Diana thing. Now, there could have been a relationship between May and Diana as well that went sexual, and they may have had feelings for each other. Helena also feels like it's her fault, so she goes and she decides to see what's happening. So, now we know Rockwell did not destroy the Ark because, one, He's not strong enough to destroy the Ark. I want to make that clear. He doesn't have enough power within himself to cause the damage that we see throughout the Ark. He does not host that amount of power. No, that is a planetary involvement. There is just something bigger than that. A malfunctioning Ark would make sense. It would also make sense that the molten element comes from the obelisk or the tower that's helping hold this biome together. It just infects the entire place. The dead giveaway was that in his notes, unfortunately, Rockwell was speaking about becoming a god and this and that, while everyone else is gone to save the Ark. So this pieces together more about the last story I had given you guys. He was with May and that super advanced tribe talking about this stuff in his journal, dossier stuff, whatever, while everyone else was at the surface trying to repair the obelisk that was threatening the Ark and its environment and just destroying it. Either way, what ends up happening is they have Santiago hack the portal room and they set their destination for Earth. So there was no malfunction or anything like that. Well, there was a malfunction. The reason why we can use this portal now to go to Earth is simply because of the fact that they hacked it and now it is set to go to Earth thanks to Santiago, which I don't know if Santiago went with them or not. I would assume he would have had to because he's the only one with the hacking expertise that could possibly even do this. Maybe they need to hack another portal down on Earth. But that's basically what happened to Aberration. My idea on why it's so messed up, because of an obelisk that had failed, malfunctioned, whatever, and then the terminal outside causing no biome or anything like that, no protective shield, which is why everything is on fire on the surface. Whether I'm right or not, I guess we'll know when Extinction comes out if the idea I have is right or not with this whole thing. Now, on top of this, there's something interesting that people were telling me that's kind of... I'm kind of interested, actually, but I also have something that'll discredit it. Now, the idea behind this one, I take zero credit for at all when it comes to this. This was actually in the comment section of my last video. However, the idea is that this tower right here, which we had investigated in my last ARK Extinction video, is actually some kind of thing that impacted the planet. Now, the reason why we're saying that is because it's far larger than any of the other buildings that are here. Way, way, way bigger than any of the other buildings here, besides these buildings in the back. The thing about it is that it also seems to have a little bit of a different design compared to all of the other buildings. The other buildings seem to have a, I guess, mechanical shape to them, if that makes sense. This one has wires hanging out and just all around it it's a little bit weird. The other thing I want to note is that on these pillars and even the walls, you don't see what seems to be an impact mark. Like on this, like it just took the force of a huge impact to the planet. So the idea is that this actually rocketed down from space into the planet and landed there. Now, am I saying that this is 100% positive? No, I'm not saying anywhere near that. And the reason why I'm saying that, if things pointed towards it more, I would probably agree more. But the thing about it, and the issue that I have, is the only impact mark we have is right there. And in that area, I mean, for the planet to have that much water showing, that is miles upon miles of water. Now, we do see water over there, but it's not... No, I think that's just a mapping thing that they did, basically. So, you know, whatever. I don't think it impacted here. Possible that it would have impacted somewhere at a slower speed if it was a piece of alien technology, but I don't see that happening. I don't think that rocketed in. No, I don't see it that way. Now, right here, we actually get a good look at what these pillars are, basically. Now, they're not actually 100% accurate to what we're supposed to see, or at least what we see over on the Ark. But the thing about this, too, that I want to point out is the reason why I believe there's a overseer on Aberration, or at least there was, and why I believe it's in the tower, is because of this right here. This piece hanging out right here. Now, in the last Ark, we went to a spaceship, I'm pretty sure, which was different for the overseer. But I feel like in these giant pillars right here, there's supposed to be an overseer at the edge of this. This is actually the command hub as far as I'm concerned. It outreaches the entire planet, well, most of the planet. It explains some of the supply drops, but not all of them. But I assume they could fly around to the area and like find their trajectory correctly. But I will let you guys come to your own conclusions. This is probably the final video I will do on the ARK lore, extinction, drama, all that stuff, whatever happened to this planet and made it into nothing but assholes and sadness. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, well then leave a like for more. Post your theories down below if you want. Let me know what you think, and if I think it is applicable enough, well then I will definitely go ahead and share your story, or at least what you think is happening on the ARK. But that's it, guys. I will see you in the next video.